Welcome to the Profit Talks podcast, hosted by the Orange County Inland Empire SBDC Network, funded in part by the U.S. Small Business Administration and the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. This show is the go-to resource for business owners seeking empowerment, education, and resources to succeed. Join us as we connect you with experts, share the triumphs of fellow entrepreneurs, and reveal the wealth of assistance available to you today to level up your business. So let's go. Let's dive in and learn more. And boy, you're going to have to hold on to your seats here today because we got a wild whirlwind journey here with an actual professional comedian and artist now, Roxy Rich, joining us in the house. Welcome, Roxy.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for having me.
You spent 20 minutes telling me your wild tale. I don't think we got through half of it here. So we're going to try and see in the next 20 minutes if we can somehow condense it down into a manageable story here. What a wild journey you've been on your whole life. Many times we have people come and say, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I did something steady, dare we say boring, just predictable. And now at some point in my life, I'm taking a risk. I'm jumping all in. You've been jumping all in from the time you arrived in L.A., which was when? You came from Florida and you arrived in L.A. when?
December 1992. Yeah.
And what a time to come. Was it Rodney King riots around then or something?
Exactly. It was just ending, and I had just been through Hurricane Andrew, because I was actually down in Miami when that happened, and I had to flee there. I got here just in time for a year later for the Northridge earthquake to hit.
See, I mean, now I know the cause of all this stuff. You're a natural force of nature here. You're just absolutely a whirlwind that came into town and just upended everything. So you came here because what? You wanted to get in the entertainment industry doing comedy mostly?
Yeah, I was already in the entertainment business. I was doing comedy in Florida already. And gosh, what was the name of that club?
Big famous clubs down there. Well, you came here.
Hilarities. I was doing Groucho's down there.
Groucho's,
Larry. Yeah, and I had actually started it in college at LaGrange College in Georgia. I had a theater scholarship. It was just a 1 year only scholarship, a partial scholarship. But I went, took it, did everything I could. I was in Steel Magnolias, the play, before the movie came out.
Okay, there you
I was
go.
Weezer. I was the youngest person in the play, playing the oldest cast member.
So here you are in L.A. making a splash, and you're playing clubs. Did you play the Comedy Store?
Yes,
Sunset,
yes.
All that?
It took nearly, 2004 when I finally made paid regular at the Comedy Store. It might have been non-paid. I think I was a non-paid for 2 years, and then Mitzi Shore was like,
because they let you go up for free and take advantage, and then at some point you actually get a paying gig.
You have to keep going back. I just showed up, and then I auditioned and auditioned. I think it took 8 to become a non-paid regular, and then 2.5 years.
This is 90s. This is right after Richard Pryor played up there.
I met Richard Pryor because I was there. I was already a paid regular by that time. And let me tell you, when the guy called me and said, Mitzi says you're paid regular, I just almost died. Right?
Yeah.
Like it only took 14
years. Go
years.
look up that whole era there. I lived in Hollywood right before that in the 80s. I was in the entertainment industry as an entertainment publicist. Johnny Mathis, the Police. I worked with all these crazy people. We used to go to those clubs all the time. And what a time to see Sam Kinniston on stage at the... Before he
was
hit big
before
and
my
stuff.
time. I'm sorry I missed him.
Oh,
but Andrew Dice Clay was there.
Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah, I was on stage upstairs, and George Carlin was on stage downstairs.
See?
I went, man, I made it. Oh my God, I'm at the Comedy Store.
But even when you make it, unless you get the Jerry Seinfeld jackpot here, and you get a series, it's hard. You got to stay alive. You got to waitress. You got to do tables. You got to do all sorts of crazy things to just pay the bills. In fact, like you say, you'd get off at 3 o'clock in the morning, get home or whatever, and now you got to get up and go to do something to make money throughout the day.
5 a.m. I was somewhere. You're out doing, and you have to hit all these other shows just to stay good, and then you're going on the road, and in the meantime trying to juggle a job, and you can't really have a full-time job because you got to do auditions in the morning, and you have to
But it doesn't pay enough. That's what people don't realize. When you're coming up, even if you made it, you get a paid gig. That's like, one spot a week or a couple spots a week.
It pays gas money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's costing you money. You're basically in the red for however long it takes you to make it. I did. I had success. I went out. I drove to Kelso, Washington for $100. I flew to Reno, rented a car, and drove to Winnemucca, Nevada more than once.
Say that three times real fast.
Yeah, to do Ely and Elko, Nevada.
The big circuit. Yeah,
Elko. The big skirt. Oh, yeah.
Elko, Nevada.
And these comedians, you just don't know what they're going. They're driving all night. They're working in these all over and I loved it. I absolutely love it. I still love it, and I intend to do more of it.
And you still do it.
I do it. I headlined a gig down here in Temecula last Murrieta, and then featured at the Shamrock last year.
But our story isn't about that journey, which still continues. It's about how do you survive in the daytime. And you did all sorts of crazy stuff. Dealt blackjack, you said. You worked did retail sales. You did all sorts of crazy stuff. Doesn't sound like you did much. Or you did some waitressing at the Roxy or something.
I was blackjack dealing at the Roxy. I'm a waitress, a cocktail waitress at the Dresden. The famous Marty and
Dresden.
Elaine. Oh, I miss my friends at the Dresden. Hi, Jim.
Go look that. I think it was the movie Swingers with Vince Vaughn way back when.
Oh, yeah, and I even had an art exhibit there, actually. I worked at the boutique next door. For 15 years, I worked there, and I lived 3 blocks away, and I finally convinced the owner to let me have an art exhibit there when I had started doing art.
This cool underground club didn't they do like swing dancing and stuff there?
No, they had vintage music, and the whole place hasn't changed
right.
in 60 years. They still have, on one side, it's all these giant white booths. It looks like a mafia movie.
Yeah.
And then the other side, they have a piano bar, and Marty and Elaine were playing there for 40 years. I mean, when I moved to LA, I sat in and sang with them.
Had I forgotten that name, Marty, and what was it, Elaine? And they were, if you were in the hip crowd in those days, you knew that name. They never made it to the national level, but the people in the know went and watched them perform.
Well, for 40 years, they booked a gig for 40 years that they survived on. That's success, and they're known all over the place. They were in movies, but I went and sang with them when I was 23. And then later, I convinced the owner to let me have a comedy show there. And Alonzo Bowden, they came and did my comedy show on a Monday night at the Dresden.
So,
I had so many
hustling
people there.
gigs was a norm for you. Where the next dollar comes was never a guarantee, but you're always out, constantly promoting yourself, always looking for new opportunities, creating something out of nothing, just like you create comedy out of just observations.
Yeah, let me just tell you, if I couldn't get on stage, I created a show called Comedy Girlfriends. It ran for 20 years. We did shows all over the Ice House. We did a standing room only at the Ice House, standing room only at the Belly Room in the Comedy Store.
I don't think people realize how hard people work to break into those areas. And it isn't just you do it and then you break through and ta-da, here I am. It never stops. You're always out looking for the next gig. You're always out trying to
I heard
promote yourself.
Keanu Reeves had to audition to be in Something's Gotta Give. Now, this is after he had The Matrix.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So it never ends. I still know people from those days, not many left in those days. Most of my era moved on or moved up or died or left or whatever. But you've stuck with it, and along the way, you did some crazy things. Talk about this balloon business. Somehow you gravitated down to San Pedro, another place I lived in the 80s and 90s, because that was like where the artsy community, it was either downtown L.A., in the old lofts and stuff, in the rundown kind of neighborhoods, the warehouses, or in San Pedro, in the warehouses, and lots of art gallery, lots of artists hanging out down there. I know it got a little more gentrified through the years, but in those days, it was pretty out there. The other one is where Echo Park and everything.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so you gravitate down to St. Peter. You start doing balloons? You're making balloon animals and stuff here?
Yeah, I mean, I was working, one of my part-time jobs was always working on kiosks, like sales products, pitch products. I was doing Universal City Walk, and for whatever reason, I didn't like that particular product or gig or whatever, and I saw this balloon artist, and she was doing it for donations only and making animals, and I went, I bet I could do that. What if I could do that?
What if I could do that?
Yeah, and so then I kind of went online. I found this company, Balloon Abilities, that would train you if you agreed to work for them for 6 months. And you have to go out into a restaurant and where all the kids are, and then make
entertain
balloons.
people. You can't just make a little dachshund. You got to make all sorts of unique things and stuff here.
Yeah, so I worked for them for 6 months. I learned how to do it, but then I thought I met this other balloon guy.
I always wanted to know how to do that, how to twist these balloons together and make something out of it here.
It takes practice, but I met this other guy who made elaborate balloons, and then I asked him to teach me, and he did it. He did it. Miguel, he taught. Thank you, Miguel.
Miguel, if you're out there listening. Thank you.
I said, what did that cost me? And he said, a sandwich.
For a sandwich, he taught you how to do it.
And he gave me several lessons. And then he told me, why don't you go out to San Pedro? Maybe you could do it out there. And I went out there, and I was there for 15 years.
Did you go on like the cruise boats and all the other stuff?
No, I DJ'd on the cruise boats because I met the owner who did that, and I would make balloons all day.
The harbor cruises and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then I worked on the balloon. I worked there and in the restaurant and everything. Just whatever. If somebody says, can you do this? And I can do it, yeah, I can do that.
Why not? All right, so from that, I'm still trying to figure out comedy. I get the journey there. I get the ongoing struggle. I get the need to make money during the day, and you came up with this crazy thing. And you're actually making enough to buy a car and stuff making balloon animals here. You said when you went to club one night, somebody said, balloon animals paid for that SUV? Yeah.
I'll tell you why. Because before the balloons, I was working for a blackjack table all over the place, just the Roxy and other Century Club.
Right.
And this guy didn't want to do it anymore. So I bought a table. And that was my first experience really owning something, investing and owning in something and being an owner. And so you discover what is it like to have to purchase something and then reap the benefits of it and all the negotiating, the red tape and everything. So I was doing it at Century Club.
You can't just show up like you do on stage. You got to negotiate the contract. You got to figure out the cost and the delivery and all the other things.
Exactly. Comedy, your investment is just getting through the club and looking appropriate. Here, well, there's more cost to that. I'm not going to lie. There is. But you don't have to go out and buy merchandise. So that was really my first experience, and I liked it. I only worked a couple nights a week, and I did that for quite some time. But then when I found out how to make these balloons, and I started doing it on the weekend, I was making so much money on the balloons. But it was Saturday and Sunday, and I was working Friday night and Saturday night. And it just became like I wasn't getting enough sleep. And so I just, at some point,
You like to sleep? Come on. I didn't think anybody in Hollywood ever slept.
Maybe 5.5 hours a night, and that's it. But so I was up at 5 a.m. down in Los Angeles and downtown, and buying like balloons and blinking roses and stuff. And I'd be out there on location. This is a 45-minute drive from Hollywood to there, and I would work until 11 p.m. Is that where you buy all the
supplies downtown at some like mart or something?
Exactly, yeah. And I would go down there and make balloons, and then I learned how to make a floating fish balloon, and then I would stay and sell blinking roses at night. But I was working like 2 days a week, and holiday weekends would be 3, and then I didn't have to work like Monday through Friday because I made so much money, but I couldn't write because my hands were tired.
So you would think that the business we're talking about today is a balloon business, but it's not. Somewhere along the way, a guy says, come on down to Temecula. This is even further south than San Pedro, winery country here, and you can set up a display and sell whatever you want to sell. And somewhere your passion to do art, which had always been pursuant to doing comedy, you also saw yourself as an artist and dabbled in art and was interested in art. Is that the story?
Well, the first job I had when I got here was working for an artist. We did Orange County Marketplace, and I was helping him set up the booth and sell. But then later I was like, I could do that. And I just started painting, and I would buy canvases from him and start painting. We were selling my art as well.
That sounds like you were trained in theater arts.
No, not really. No, I was trained in theater arts. So I just started painting. And excuse me, I'm going to cough. Sorry about that.
I'm glad you coughed to take a breath there because this is going so fast. So we're hitting them with a fire hose of stuff here. So you come to Hollywood and you do anything you can, and you're on stage at the Comedy Store, and meanwhile in the morning you're running down and getting supplies in downtown L.A. and flowers and balloons and selling those. And the guy says, come to Temecula. And you said, what the heck? Why not?
I had been painting when I first got here for 5 years. That was my weekend job before all this other stuff happened, and I was doing comedy. And so I really did enjoy that. And unfortunately, he passed away, and that's how I wound up doing all these other things, working retail and everything.
The guy you were working for passed
away. The
artist
passed away, Mark Magavero, and he was a dear friend of mine, great artist. And so later, when I kept thinking, like, I love the balloons, I love comedy, obviously, but I need to do something because in San Pedro, remember a few years back, Long Beach, Harbor Department decided to gentrify it. 5 years ahead of time, I knew that business wasn't going to be there anymore. Right. And honestly, I wanted to
happens all these cool areas.
paint.
Eventually, other people want to live there, and then pretty soon the condos go up, and then the big box stores come in, and suddenly it doesn't look like the funky downtown artist hangout loft district that everybody was drawn to here.
Well, exactly. But on this note, like as an artist, I am an artist in many ways. I'm also a writer. I published a book called Roxy Does Retail.
Roxy
you
Does
meet these
Retail.
comedians, right? Todd Parker, who maybe, I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he's a brilliant painter and artist. You meet, like, Joe Rogan, actually, he's a fighter. These artists do
MMA
other
fighting.
things.
Absolutely.
You see these artists, they're not just a comedian. They play the guitar.
Well, because they have to, and
paint.
partly because of a passion to do lots of things. If you like one creative thing, you
Well,
like lots of creative things.
Debbie wanted to be a musician.
For the
Oh,
longest
poor
time.
guy. He's an actor. He
Yeah.
makes billions of dollars. It's
But still, every time he gets to, he goes out and plays and with
right,
little
but
bands and
they're
stuff.
talented in other ways. And I was a talented painter, and I'm a talented writer, and I'm a talented comedian, and I always wanted to start painting again. And so when I knew that was going to happen in San Pedro, I was trying to find out where I could go to paint. And there's a lot of red tape in LA, and I looked at all the markets, Orange County Marketplace again, and I was just looking for this, and it came to me. It was like the universe went, yeah, you're supposed to do this,
Come on
because I
in. So
met somebody
you
in
set up at
Temecula.
a winery, Maurice Curie Winery, one of the bigger ones, known ones down there.
Yeah, I started commuting here.
And suddenly you're setting up a tent on the weekends and coming down and selling what? Art? You're not
I
doing
was
balloons
selling
anymore.
art. No, I started selling art. And you know what? If that business was going to go down, I'd rather not wait till the last minute and then have nothing to do. So I closed the business, sold my equipment, and I started commuting to Temecula. And I was still up in LA working all 4 days
Long
during the
commute,
week. Then
yeah.
I'd drive down, set up a tent, sell the art, stay overnight and sell the art, and then go back and get back to work up there. And I was doing this for 8 years before
Wow.
I ever moved here.
So-
And during that time, developing my skill as an artist.
Now, what struck me is, anybody listening to this story, you've obviously been a self-starter and an entrepreneur. You have done what everybody dreamed of. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to move to L.A. I'm going to get on stage. Oh, I need to make some money. How about balloons? How about blackjack? How about this? Anything and everything. Yet, when it came to this fine art gallery of really not just painting, but selling this stuff, you sound like you had a little doubt. Like, I really don't know what I don't know. And so somehow you reached out to the business center at the Small Business Development Center down at Temecula there.
I did, because I'd had an Etsy shop for a long time, and I really
On
needed to
Etsy?
go
Yeah, right.
Etsy. Well, the thing is that at some point you're getting older, and you need to have some form of income that's going
Older,
to
you got
be
more energy than
forever.
any 20-year-old I've ever seen here.
Thank you very much, Paul. I hope so. I certainly
Just
hope
like
so.
put a bubble around it here to contain the energy from blowing up the studio here. All right.
I'll tell you, I mean, definitely my art is a passion. I definitely wanted to paint, and I wanted to become, if I'm going to do something, I'm doing it all the way. So I'm going to become a 100% professional. Like I
Right.
did with the balloons. People at the Grammys bought my balloons. I deliver balloons to huge celebrities. And so I did it the most professional way, just like I did with comedy. I'm not a professional until I headlined in Vegas, and I did it, and I made
Yeah.
paid regular to comedy. So I'm going
And
to
that's
be...
quite a statement, because I know many people, me included, that sort of dabbled in it but never really pursued it 100%.
If you could get paid and you could headline in Vegas, and you could, a lot of my friends are famous, and but I don't try and hit them up because they're just trying to keep their job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
like,
yeah. There's no
so-
guarantee you'll have it tomorrow.
Exactly.
All right. So the SBDC did what for you? At some point you said, I maybe need a little business help. I've been just scattered all of this stuff, making these things up, making it up as I go along. Maybe I need to make a little more plan. Maybe I need to have a little more. Eventually, I might want to have a location. I might want to have a permanent gallery. I need leases. I need licenses. I need et cetera, et cetera.
Well,
I need a business
exactly.
plan. I need other sorts of things here. Yeah.
Exactly. At some point, you actually have a business, and either you're going to expand it or you're going to collapse it. So
Right.
I wanted to expand it. I'd had Etsy, and I'm finding this kind of thing. I want to open a shop, and I'm very fortunate because I actually have a place now at a different winery, Bacchus Vintners, who's
Say that one again. You said
basically-
that one so fast. I know.
Oh, Gershon Bacchus Vintners, GBV Winery on the Deep Portola Wine Trail, and they're just the nicest people, and they make the best wine, and they have beautiful views. And they actually, I met them by circumstance, and they invited me up to do art there, and I've actually been there for several years. During the off-wedding season, I have a little space where I have a gallery and gift shop.
So we're down to the last couple of minutes.
Yeah.
What could be hours of conversation
Oh,
here?
sorry.
Let's
Yeah.
see if we can wrap it up. What did the SBDC do for you, and what do they continue to do for you as you build this new fine art gallery
Well, I needed help. How do I get a loan? Should I become an LLC? How do I get a business license properly? And I went to this seminar. I was at
business license. I'm selling balloons
right?
on the weekend. I don't need a business license.
Oh, but you do. You need an EIN. You need a tax number. And so I went to this one, and then I went to a second one, and I learned all about credit and how you get loans and how you can't get loans. I found out I'm not getting a loan anytime soon. Man, like, you have to. How much? What is the government looking for if they're going to give you a grant? If you're going to give you a loan? And so this was extremely educational for me. And then this woman, actually, I wish I could remember her name because she was very helpful. But she sent me to a guy named Nathaniel Quinn, who is a website developer. And she said, the city can help you with that. And I get a Zoom call with this guy every couple of weeks, because when you can't just paint. You have to become a video maker on Instagram, a social media expert.
A marketing person.
PR. But you have to, all these websites require some SEO and HTML, and how does it look not cluttered, and Google Analytics, and just all this stuff. And you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this at 5:30 a.m. when I get up for a couple of hours before I go to work, and either go to the winery to paint, or to, actually they hired me, thank God. I have a side job now as a wine educator too, and so it's really grateful for that. But this Shopify store is really starting to do a lot better because of the help that I received from the Small Business Center, and even Temecula Valley Museum. That I just had a solo exhibit at the Merc, thanks to them. That was really cool. And one painting in Madrid at the Madrid Station exhibit right now. But this seminar really helped me determine what I need to do.
This is a seminar put on by the SBDC.
Yes, and it told me what I need to do, like debt ratio.
So from a seminar, you led to working with consultants, and they've opened up people working with your website and to help your marketing plan and to help to grow this business. How long have you been doing this now, and how's it going?
So I changed to Shopify maybe 3 years ago. And the first year I really had a difficult time. But since I had this guy helping me, everything's going well. The stats are going up. I have a plan. Every time I talk to him, we'll work over either analytics or how we need to clean it up and make it more user-friendly.
This is some guy with the SBDC.
Nathaniel Quinn, I think is his name. And he's really helped me a lot. I'm so grateful.
All right. I wish we could go on, but the time has flown by. Like the last few years of your life, just a whirlwind. You arrived after a hurricane and after riots and earthquakes, and it seems like it's been shaken ever since. But somehow you've not just survived, you've thrived, and along the way grown and tried other crazy things none of us could even imagine, including the life of an artist, which has now turned into a business online and in retail and other things. And I'm just amazed. You are an inspiration to anybody who says, I can't do it. I just can't do it. I don't think those words ever come up out of your mouth, do they?
What word was that? I never heard it before.
I can't do it. No.
Anything can be done. Just get on it.
There you go.
Just get on it.
All right. So if they want to go learn more about all the many things you're doing, is there a site? Is there a place to learn about Roxy Rich?
Yes. You can go to prettypaintings.com. And that's a story how I got that.
Oh, my
I'm
please.
a salesperson. Let me tell you.
We don't even have time for that.
Oh, too bad.
Prettypaintings.com.
Yes.
We're going to tease you with that. Go out and learn the story on the site. I'm sure it's there. And any place you're still promoting, doing comedy or any other crazy things you want to
I actually just need to get back on stage. I'm so busy sometimes I come home and collapse. But I need to get out on stage and get the dust off, because you get a little rusty if you haven't been out there for a minute. I think
so. All right. Thank you so much. You drove in from Temecula all the way to Irvine here to come and join us. Thank you so much for being
Paul.
here. What a story. Go check it out. It's just a scratch in the surface on what has been an amazing life to date, and an amazing story of grit, determination, can do, will do, just do. I think that's your motto here, right?
Well, thank you. And if you haven't been, go down to your local business
development center,
because they will help you.
They
have many resources.
I love it. All right. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Paul.
As we conclude another episode of the Profit Talks podcast, we hope we've empowered your entrepreneurial spirit. Reach out to us to connect with our experts, and let's take your business to the next level. Keep those dreams alive, keep pushing forward, and stay tuned for more. And if you liked what you heard in today's podcast and you want your business to reach new heights, just contact us at profittalkspodcast.org or call us at 1-800-616-7232. That's 1-800-616-7232. So until next time, keep thriving.